more than 200 Chinese fishing vessels have dropped anchor at a coral reef inside the country's exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea. A government statement on Saturday said the Coast Guard spotted about 220 Chinese vessels moored at the reef on March 7th. It believes they were manned by Chinese maritime militia personnel. The statement added that the Chinese vessels conducted no actual fishing activities at the reef and had their floodlights turned on at night. Photos taken by the Coast Guard show large vessels moored in line formation and fitted with what appeared to be cranes. The reef is about 300 kilometers west of Palawan Island. Manila lodged a protest after China in January passed a law that enables its Coast Guard to carry weapons. Philippines officials say Beijing may have sent the vessels to judge their response. North Korea has closed its embassy in Kuala Lumpur and severed ties with Malaysia. The diplomatic skirmish comes after the extradition of a North Korean citizen to the United States for alleged money laundering. A North Korean diplomat says the extradition is an unpardonable crime.
The Malaysian authority will bear full responsibility for all the consequences to the incurred between the two countries.
Following Pyongyang's announcement, the Malaysian government ordered North Korean embassy staff and their families to leave the country. Kuala Lumpur denounced Pyongyang's decision as unfriendly and unconstructive. The two countries previously had friendly relations, but their ties became strained after Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, was murdered at a Malaysian airport in 2017. Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide says he will work for a stronger alliance with the United States when he visits the country next month. Suga gave a speech on Sunday at the graduation ceremony of the National Defense Academy in Yokosuka City near Tokyo. The event was scaled down to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. He noted that the security environment changed drastically when the Soviet Union collapsed 30 years ago. He said the next 30 years will bring unprecedented threats and challenges, and these will create new missions for the self-defense forces.
No country can safeguard its peace and security on its own amid such a complex environment. It is essential to maintain cooperation among allies and friendly nations.
About 400 Japanese students graduated from the academy this year. 28 declined to join the self-defense forces, 7 fewer than last year. The state of emergency for Tokyo and 3 surrounding prefectures expired at the end of the day on Sunday. Emergency measures went into effect in early January when coronavirus cases were surging. Since then, case numbers in the capital have come down 80% and leveled off, with measures in place to prevent a resurgence. Officials in Tokyo confirmed 256 new positive cases on Sunday, with 4 deaths.
I want everyone to recognize that we need to avoid a rebound of infections. I am asking for continued cooperation to prevent a 4th wave.
There are concerns about places where people gather to view cherry blossoms. At Ueno Park in Tokyo, temporary fences have been set up to prevent outdoor parties. Cherry trees have been lit up at night in the past, but not this year. The government will keep in place its request that restaurants and bars close early and companies allow employees to work remotely. Japan's health minister says the government will continue measures to prevent a resurgence after the state of emergency.
We'll ask officials to set up PCR testing centers in urban areas such as train stations in order to catch any signs of an outbreak. Through such measures, we will work to prevent an explosive increase in case numbers.
Tamura Norihisa also touched on the possibility of AstraZeneca and Moderna vaccines being approved by the end of May. They are currently being screened for Japan. Inoculations with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine started last month, with healthcare workers getting first priority in the national vaccination program. The minister says he is considering asking all travelers from abroad to stay at their accommodation and undergo tests there. Currently, that is only required of travelers from Europe and other countries where variants of the virus have been confirmed. More than 1,100 new positive cases were reported across Japan on Sunday. That brings the total to more than 457,000 since the pandemic began. A Japanese fisherman who was exposed to radioactive fallout from a U.S. hydrogen bomb test has died at the age of 87 after contracting pneumonia. Oishi Matashichi was one of the 23 crew members on board the Daigo Fukuryu Maru when the United States conducted the test in 1954 at Bikini Atoll in the Pacific Ocean. Oishi was hospitalized for 14 months. He suffered from the after effects of radiation exposure, including hair loss and blisters. The incident led to a nationwide movement for nuclear disarmament and the establishment of the Japan Confederation of A and H bomb sufferers organizations. Oishi wrote about his experience and gave speeches to raise awareness of the horror of nuclear weapons and exposure to radiation. He also warned about the danger of nuclear power plants. A member of the Confederation says it is very regrettable that Oishi has died. Prosecutors suspect that former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn was helped to escape from Japan by members of his family. Images from a surveillance camera indicate one of the two men suspected in the escape met with Ghosn's daughter on the day it happened. Tokyo prosecutors have arrested former U.S. Green Beret Michael Taylor and his son Peter Taylor. They are suspected of helping Ghosn flee to Lebanon in December 2019. Ghosn was facing financial misconduct charges and was out on bail. Surveillance images submitted to a U.S. court show Peter Taylor receiving baggage from Ghosn's daughter Maya in the parking lot of a Tokyo hotel. Taylor is believed to have joined Ghosn and Michael Taylor in a room of the hotel. They then traveled to Osaka, leaving the country by private jet. Sources say the Taylors have admitted to the charges, telling prosecutors that Ghosn's wife Carol asked them to help. She is facing an arrest warrant for perjury. Prosecutors are believed to be set to indict the Taylors when their detention period expires on Monday. A spokesperson for Ghosn's family lawyer told NHK he cannot comment on whether a family member made contact with the younger Taylor.
Thousands of people have taken part in protests across Europe against coronavirus-related restrictions. It comes as a third wave of infections forced millions more in the EU back into lockdown. There have been big rallies in cities across the United States calling for lawmakers to do more to prevent attacks on Asian Americans. It's after 8 people were shot dead in Atlanta. 6 of the victims were Asian Americans. Residents of Sydney could be ordered to evacuate as heavy rains and flash floods batter Australia's east coast. Homes have been washed away and the extreme weather could continue until as late as Thursday. A music festival is going ahead in the Netherlands despite much of the country being in lockdown. It's an experiment to work out whether there's a safe way to large social gatherings.